Welcome to Pax Europiana, this time here from Durrës, the most strategic harbor of the southern Mediterranean. Here it's amazing, it's beautiful, it's in the middle of the sun. I hope I get no heat stroke. I tried it now in Albanian language as well to explain what I want, and now I will be in English again. Ladies and gentlemen, dear fans, dear friends, dear listeners, it's like this. We need a so-called Balkan Benelux. Tomorrow is the big summit in Skopje between Albania, Macedonia and Serbia to create MiniSchengen. Kosovo, Montenegro and Bosnia, they are already in the regional economic area and in CEFTA and all the institutions we built up in the last 20 years. So they will not join. And the question is also, why should they, as long as Serbia is not recognizing Kosovo and Bosnia as well not. And Dodik is now back in the Constitutional Council, in the Presidency Council. He was trying to get out, but he understood that then we can recognize Kosovo and from the Bosnian side when he is in strike. That's of course, now he understood that he is back. But the countries need to adopt the euro and to join a customs union, the European Customs Union, and work as Balkan Benelux, like Benelux works together, but only the friendly countries. We cannot completely open the market towards Serbia once Serbia is not ready for peace and is a Russian proxy. This is the problem. I'm very much for open markets. I'm absolutely in favor of so-called MiniSchengen, but we have it already. Let's not forget, we agreed in Trieste on that. Trieste was the big summit of the Berlin dialogue. It is called Regional Economic Area. All 6 countries and the EU are part of it. Obviously it's not ambitious enough. I call for a more ambitious form. The euro for Albania and for Bosnia and for Macedonia first of all. And this is the hard currency area with the exemption of Albania. They are all, because Montenegro and Kosovo, I repeat myself, they have already the euro. These 2 countries in the south to have the euro. Macedonia and Bosnia already packed. So it's Serbia which is the problem, and also Albania. And now to form some kind of deeper integration, MiniSchengen then having the connotation of an open labor market, of an open residence system, of what we call an economic theory. I have to explain it maybe more fundamentally. First, free trade area. This is what CEFTA is. The second stage is then a customs union. We have not really reached. We need normally to reach a customs union level. The third level is then the so-called internal market. That means free movement of goods, person, capital and of services. We have reached it in the European Union. If MiniSchengen wants to reach that, why not reach first the customs union? That's the logical step. And then obviously we have a currency union. I say we cannot, of course the countries cannot fully join the Eurozone as full members. That's only for political members of the EU, but they can adopt the euro, and Montenegro and Kosovo have done it already. So that's the more logical way to go ahead. And tomorrow the summit just with 3 countries, and they open then, supposedly I read, which is very good, the labor market. I'm absolutely in favor. And then to have maybe other free movements as well, and to move ahead, it's very, very good. But the way it's now done without Kosovo, Montenegro and Bosnia, and why it's not done with the countries? Because they are the victims of Serb aggression. And now the countries which were not victimized, at least recently, Albania and Macedonia, because there was no serious significant aggression by Serbia against them in the Balkan wars, because there was, of course, Gligorov attentat, assassination in 95 in Macedonia, and there was a lot of Serbian secret service activity in Macedonia, no doubt, and in Albania as well. But there was no open aggression against the 2. In Bosnia, yes. In Kosovo, obviously, and in Bosnia, obviously, and in Montenegro also quite heavily. And they don't want to be in this MiniSchengen for a reason. And we have already European mechanisms like the regional economic area. So that's the way to do it. Additionally, the 4 countries which are really very friendly, Albania and Kosovo, Macedonia, Montenegro, they should form the next level of integration. That's a customs union. It can be also an internal market. But the more logical thing is also the euro for Macedonia and Albania. So they have the same currency here in the south, the 4 countries. It works much better, obviously. They are more integrated. They will be less corrupt. They will be more economically efficient. That's all what the euro brings, obviously. And the higher prosperity levels and faster convergence with the European Union. Look at Lithuania, look at Slovakia, Slovenia. It's not a magic wand, but it works much better. And then the customs union, obviously. These are the signals we need. And then obviously with Kosovo, and not to exclude Kosovo and to create the impression as if Kosovo would not be ready for regional cooperation. And that's utter nonsense. It's not Kosovo that is the problem, it's Serbia. Serbia is the aggressor state. Yeah. Why now Rama works with Vucic above the head of Kurti is really a mystery for me. I cannot understand the reasoning, and I cannot understand the logic, I cannot understand the economic position. And you know, I'm talking here in Durrës. Durrës is really important as well for the whole of the Balkan economy. It's the most important harbor of the southern Balkans. And Bar has maybe a great future as well, and the Croatian harbors have as well. But Bar is Bar has a good military and a deep sea port potential. But the real logistic hub is obviously here, Porto Romano maybe in the future, but Durrës already now. It was the supply point for Yugoslavia during the embargo times. Yeah? It was, in my view, the place for which the First World War was started. Yeah? You know, it was the Austrian Empire putting the ultimatum for the Serbs to leave, and the Serbs being so angry to plot then the assassination of Franz Ferdinand. Yeah? That's the truth. Read history, and exactly not the biased history of Western Europe, but the facts on the ground here of the Balkans, where everything started. Durrës matters very much. Now to deliver basically MiniSchengen to Serbia without having recognition. I mean, it's very good MiniSchengen, don't get me wrong, but recognize Kosovo first, Mr. Vucic. Then we can make peace, you do the euro, and we have a wonderful future all together in the European Union, NATO and the EU. Wonderful. But if you're not ready, why to give you so much when you are not ready? This I cannot understand. And tomorrow the summit is really, you know, it's happening, but the whole impression is then so much anti-Kosovo that I cannot really understand why the Albanian Prime Minister is doing it. I mean, Macedonia is a bit sandwiched and wants to be friends with everybody. That's okay, that's a normal situation when you are in the geographic position of Macedonia, but the Albanian position, and then somehow say, oh yeah, the others are not good to not participate. Yeah? I wonder why we do all these efforts, and what's the strategy behind it is a mystery for me. I talked now as well in Albanian, I made this effort, it was hopefully not ridiculous, but I tried to speak it the best in order to also get some media access, because it's really wrong what Rama is doing here, and it's really very unfair, biased against Kosovo, and of course also not so good for Montenegro and Bosnia. And here I'm more with the victims, yeah? And this is the victims of the Serb aggression. This is Bosnia, Montenegro and Kosovo, of course. And there should be more solidarity from the Albanian Prime Minister with the Kosovo Prime Minister. I mean, it's logical. I mean, the world was once afraid, or somebody was talking about Greater Albania. What's happening is now the Albanian Prime Minister works above the head of the Kosovo Prime Minister, directly with the Serbian Prime Minister. Like, you know, like this, all these people in history here, they have done it, the Enver Pashas, and you know, this Ahmed Sogos working with Yugoslavia, and also the communist times. This is really entirely wrong. And I call for not to stop it, but to get a grip and make it very clear that Albania takes the moral high ground again. The moral high ground is the euro. Kosovo, Montenegro have done it, so do it here as well. And it will work economically much better, it will make much more sense, and it's the right thing to do, and announce it tomorrow in Skopje. Put pressure on the others. Macedonia will be next, Bosnia then, and then we can make this peace offer of which I'm talking all the time. Because this is the only peace offer of significance we can do for Serbia. Serbia gets the euro in recognition for Kosovo, and the same also for Bosnia. And Bosnia first, in order to show it to everybody that this is real. We have the power via the bond powers anyhow for the currency as well, and the same like with the genocide law. We basically replaced the mark, which we created as the West. We replaced the mark with the euro, and Dodik can go to jail if he complains. Yeah? And that's a much better way, because he has done so many criminal activities in the last, since 2008, since he went over to Russia. He crossed the lines, went to Russia, got rich, go to jail. There's a logic here. And then we have to provide the military assets in order, when he wants to do a revolution secession. Yes, anyhow, he will end up with Yanukovych in his neighboring villa in Moscow. There's a place for such people in some gated community in Moscow. They live out happily their life with all their stolen assets and their millions they have taken from the Balkan people in the last 15 years. And so it will be. Stability we can guarantee. Bosnia and Kosovo will join NATO. The Serb middle classes will rise against Vucic if he's not changing. I mean, that's the scenario I will want to see, and that's what should be done. And not to appease him and invite him for MiniSchengen and endorse his kind of extravaganzas, his military threats, his pro-Russian pivot, his free trade agreement with the Eurasian Union, his weapons purchasing from Russia. And by the way, when Kosovo buys some tanks or whatever kind of, what it's called, some kind of, it's not really tanks, some military vehicles from the Turks, it's a NATO ally. And that's absolutely justified, yeah. But buying from Russia and from China, these are enemy states in everything but the name. Of course, China less, and I'm for a kind of a balance with China, and but nevertheless, we don't need China's military equipment. The partnership with China cannot go so far that in the middle of Europe, a former aggressor state like Serbia buys military equipment and threatens NATO members here in the Balkans. That's what it's all about. Anyhow, so Balkan Benelux, this is the time. We have already this kind of Netherlands, and Benelux is the cooperation of the Netherlands, of Belgium and of Luxembourg. That's Benelux, and that we can do with the 4 countries. We don't need Serbia for that, we don't need Bosnia. There is not the natural economic space of the northern and the southern Balkans. It's very much divided here. The Southern Balkans must work much closer together, and that's the logic here. That's the logic of Duris. That's my Duris declaration number 17. Anyhow, I don't understand Rama. I never understood him. I don't know what he's doing now. Anyhow, guys, so Balkan Benelux. That's my plan since 2012. Actually, since I came here 2005, I wrote the first emails about it, because it's very logical that the 4 smaller states, even when there were no states, at least in the case of Montenegro and Kosovo, but they have a kind of a natural economic space. They are logically working together. They are pro-European, they are pro-NATO. This is what we need. And in Bosnia, also most of the people are pro-NATO, don't forget. But the Serbian kind of revanchist group which took power in 2013 and who killed basically also Djindjic in 2003, we should never forget. And these are the same kind of ideological thinking, maybe not the same persons. I don't accuse anybody directly. It's of course all well documented who has done it, but not who ordered it. And so this is the same ideological line. They are pro-Russian. And they are, they cannot be endorsed, and we should not appease them, and we should definitely not build any kind of economic integration above the head of Kosovo with the Kosovo's former colonial master, Belgrade. I mean, that is definitely not what the Albanian Prime Minister should do. And when it happens now, tomorrow at least, to announce the euro in Albania, and that's the perfect timing for that one, Macedonia can follow suit next year, and then we have obviously progress. Then it makes sense. Then I'm also for MiniSchengen in a sense, because the moral authority of the euro then in Albania and the reality is there. And that's also the message then to Serbia, that MiniSchengen means the euro everywhere. And so we can offer that one from side of European Union for recognition as a tangible good for the Serbian middle class, who hopefully then will rise against Vucic, because he will reject it, obviously, because he is a nationalist and pro-Russian, and he will reject the euro as price for recognition. And so then we have this clarity, and we can invite Kosovo and Bosnia to NATO in 2024, and then we have peace in the Balkans, because the Serbian people will understand that Vucic leads them into a kind of nirvana, in a kind of vacuum, and everybody else will be in NATO, in the euro, and will then also join the European Union. As I say, Macedonia, Montenegro and Albania should anyhow already join in 2024, And so we are much better and we are on a good track. But unfortunately in Brussels some confused thinking is prevalent and they don't know really what they do and what to do. And that's also why I try to do all these videos for my friends in Brussels from my time in EDS and SME, and so that maybe some of them will be at least put more videos out and tweet more heavy, and they will listen and they will hopefully learn about the Southern Balkans and what really needs to be done. I'm working now 30 years on these issues, and I know exactly what is the reality and I know exactly what needs to be done. And exactly what I say is the right way forward. It's the economic integration via the currency. We have done it in most of Europe now with some whatever problematic exemptions of extreme nationalists like in Poland or and the Hungarians with their pro-Russian leader Orban. Nevertheless, that's another topic. Balkan Benelux is the way forward and it can be very easily done. It's all EU compatible, it's all fully possible, and the proof is in the pudding is in Montenegro and Kosovo have the euro already, and the currency union is what we have with Turkey since 95. It works very well. It's basically the reason for the economic miracle before Erdogan went bankers in 2013. But the first 20 years was really very successful, and he messed it all up, and actually a currency pack and the upgraded customs union is also the best way forward for Turkey and also Cyprus to be united, federalized, and in NATO. That's in the euro is, by the way, also the best. I read yesterday night a lot about that one. Anyhow, you know most of my opinions now. I repeated it now in English because my Albanian may be very difficult to understand. I'm committed and convinced, and tomorrow I will make another video to see the result of this MiniSchengen and to talk about that one. And then I will be very busy with work again, so I can do less. But in the meantime, I really hope and pray there will be wisdom in the Albanian public, and that the euro it will be really debated, the pros and cons. I don't see any cons, but maybe there are. Maybe some people are wiser than me, or they know more about the euro, or as you know. But it will be anyhow your future. It's good or bad, but Albania will have the euro maybe in a long distant future, 15 years to join the EU, 15 years to get ready for the euro. So 30 years from now, 35 years, somewhere beyond 2050. I don't have so much time because I'm already 50. So if anybody of you wants to wait another 30 years in transition, lost, and wait for the 2050 plus for this all to happen, it's of course a realistic scenario. But maybe you call me a dreamer or a fantasist. But I prefer to be a dreamer or fantasist and to talk about good things and about real things which could happen than to be there's some educational issue with the children who want to go in the sea without the father. Anyhow, that's my dream and fantasy, you can say, but that's very realistic and that's really possible. And the proof is in Kosovo and in Montenegro and in Turkey. I repeat myself, guys. Anyhow, here from Durrës, the most strategic harbor of the Mediterranean, I give you a last show around. It's a huge bay. It's really very important. It is here, this place where I stay now for these 2 weeks, and it's amazing, and I love it. And best regards from Durrës. And let's do the Euro now. Thanks a lot for listening. Bye from Pax Europiana.